Welcome everyone to another engaging session of In Dialogue Foundation's certificate course in Dialogue Studies for the year 2023-24. We are delighted to have Mr. Kombai Anwar with us today. His talk is titled Unlearning Histories, Cultures and Religions. A multifaceted personality, Mr. Anwar is renowned as a writer, photographer, documentary filmmaker, and a passionate connoisseur of history, particularly in the realm of South Asian history, focusing extensively on the often overlooked aspects of Muslim history. His critically acclaimed documentary, Yaadhum, which illuminates the history and identity of the Tamil Muslim community, has garnered numerous accolades both in India and on the international stage. Furthermore, he was entrusted by the Archaeological Survey of India to helm a series of short films celebrating the big temple at Thanjavur, constructed by Raja Chola in honor of the temple's millennium celebration. In addition, Mr. Anwar has played a pivotal role in co-curating the Muslim Heritage House at Dakshinachitra Inn, Chennai. He is actively involved in conducting heritage walks, tours, aiming to deepen people's connection with their historical roots. Mr. Anwar, the platform is yours for up to 2 hours. Please feel free to allocate as much time as you wish for questions and interactive discussions. Mr. Anwar, the stage is yours. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Alia, and good evening to people. I don't know where you are all located. It's nice meeting you on an afternoon like this. Since the group is small, can I get a kind of introduction? People can introduce themselves. I'll have a better idea of the people with whom students with whom I'm dealing with.
Yes, sure. Let me go first, sir. My name is Alia, as you know, and I'm the alumni coordinator here. And next is Pragya. Pragya, could you please introduce yourself?
Hello, sir. I am Pragya Narang. I am the program coordinator for this course. And I also work for Interfaith Peace and India-Pakistan Citizen to Citizen Peace. And I was part of this program in 2021-2022.
Hello, everyone. I'm Sonal. I'm from Nagpur, and basically I'm an IT professional, but currently associated with India Peace Center, which is an interfaith organization. So I'm working with interfaith on interfaith activities on a ground level. Thank you.
Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. My name is Pirzada Munir. I am from Kashmir. And I just submitted my PhD thesis from Center for Comparative Religions and Civilizations, Jamia Millia Islamia. Thank you, sir.
Okay, Zikra is a PhD from Jamia Millia Islamia. She holds a PhD in Muslim Islamic scholars of the 21st century.
Good evening, sir. Good evening, everyone. I am Tulika, and I'm pursuing my PhD from Lucknow University. And I live here in Lucknow. And yeah.
Good evening, all. Good evening, sir. Myself, Asna. I'm a final year undergraduate student from Jamia Millia Islamia.
Thank you. I get an idea. So as Ms. Alia spoke, yes, I did a documentary, Yaadhum. Then I also did films on the big temple, Thanjavur. And basically, I'm a Tamil-speaking Muslim, so the whole quest, unlearning cultures, histories, and all that, where it starts, is from where I am, what I am. And I will show you a small clip of my film. It's a kind of a 10-minute abridged version, which I created for a German museum, Linden Museum. And that will give you an idea. But this quest itself, why did I actually end up making that film? Is because now, let me caution you people in advance. If you have any doubts, please don't get into Hindi. I don't understand Hindi. Okay? So I see many North Indians easily fall back between Hindi or Urdu. No, I'm a Muslim, but I don't speak Urdu or Hindi. Okay? So that's the first thing I'm telling you. That I think that will help you. That will be the starting point of unlearning cultures and religions. Okay, so my film, I thought I'll show you. It's a 52-minute long film, but I've kind of compressed it because I thought it was a 45-minute session. Forgive me, I didn't realize it was a 2 hours. So I compressed it into 10 minutes thing, which will give you an idea. 52 minutes is elaborate. If you want, I can still show it to you later, not an issue. So basically, my quest started as to, I'm very proud of, I'm a Tamil speaking Muslim, a Tamilian by origin, by birth. Okay. Now the thing is, but growing up, it was all fine at home. But when you go to school, especially when you go to high school, that's where the differences start. In primary school, not many people understand. But high school, you get into fight with boys, then somebody tells you go to Pakistan, Then you start wondering, why should I go to Pakistan? This is something most of the Muslim children, I think, grow up with. And I didn't really bother much because, where I come from, my family is very steeply invested in the Tamil heritage, pride. We pride ourselves being Tamilian. So, but it used to be kind of, I used to feel funny about it, not offended, but irritated, but also a bit funny, why are these guys saying? But little later, when you go to college and you understand how this whole thing is panning out. And when I came to Madras, it became, I come from a rural area, southern Tamil Nadu. And when I came to Madras, it became even more apparent. People will be talking to me. And when they hear my name as Anwar, suddenly they'll switch over. Either they'll be talking to me in Tamil or English. The moment they hear my name as Anwar, they'll switch over to Hindi or Urdu. I can't differentiate between those two even today. So I used to politely tell them. And the worst part is, we were so deeply invested. My family was part of the anti-Hindi agitation. We were against imposition of Hindi. So coming from a family of that, and then somebody tries to talk to you in Hindi, you politely tell them that, sorry, I don't understand Hindi. And if it is non-Muslims, generally the thing will be, oh, how come we thought all Muslims, speak Hindi or Urdu? Or some will say Arabic. They say, no, not necessarily, I'm a Tamil-speaking Muslim. So that's a news to many people, that there are Tamil-speaking Muslims. Okay, then they say, how do you read your Quran? I said, no, it's all in Arabic, right? How do you read your Quran? I said, no, it's also in Tamil. I read it in Tamil or English, whichever I feel convenient. But with the Urdu-speaking Muslims, sometimes, what happens is, but what sort of a Muslim are you if you don't know Urdu? That also happens, okay? So, and you realize, and the thing is, it happens even today, that I'm not passing judgments or anything, but the feeling is there. The Tamil Muslims are looked down upon by the Urdu speakers. They think that they are the original Muslims and the Tamil Muslims are somebody local converts. That is the feeling they get. But the history is completely, something else, which you'll see, when you see my film. So you have to labor, between all these misconceptions, misunderstandings. And so that ended up, I started working at looking at my own heritage more seriously. And I was curious, when you read your history books, the history books don't tell you about what you are, why you are here, what is your identity, what is your history. If you are searching for your history, it is not there in most of the history books. It's about some kings, even the Tamil kings itself. Tamils get very passing mention in the Indian history. So South India and Tamils get passing mention in that. Imagine a minority community like a Tamil Muslim community, absolutely zero mention. Okay, so you don't find yourself in the history books at all. So I have to actually get into the search of, where do I come from? What is it? And, for any Muslim child, it becomes a very important thing. Post Babri Masjid and all that, it becomes whether you like your religion, whether you follow the religion or not, your identity is that. That is how it's looked at. So I started going into it. And to tell you the truth, I was at the way I grew up in a household which has very much invested, as I said, in the Dravidian movement, in the Dravidian ideology, Tamil Psych and all that. And my own experiences initially with religious clerics, Muslim religious clerics, were not so happy. As a child, they did not deal with me the right way. I was too curious, asking a lot of questions. And my questions mostly went unanswered. At some point, I was told, kids should not. I was about 12 years old, I think. I was asking a lot of questions. I used to read Quran, and then have some doubt, we'll go and ask. Kids should not read Quran at this age, go sit in the back room. I found it, very difficult. That I couldn't accept it, because the other side of my family, from the Dravidian lineage where I come from, I was told that you should ask. You would have heard of E.V. Ramasamy Periyar. Periyar is a kind of a social reformer here. He says, ask anything and everything. Why, when, how, you need to ask these questions. These are very basic. So don't follow anything blindly. So coming from that, and then, being treated by the clerics like this, I almost felt like I don't belong here. They were not giving the answers. And also the kind of conservatism that was their orthodoxy. Things, and later on I realized, which is not exactly Islam, but this is what is the way it is practiced here. Like, for example, 80s when I grew up, in our village, women were forbidden from seeing films. Films was generally, cinema was forbidden for Muslims, but women especially were not allowed to go for movies. Photography was shunned. All these things happened, which I felt even at that age was very, it was very backward. It has nothing to do. This is what religion is. So with all that misconceptions, that is how I grew up as a child. But slowly things changed. When I started asking questions, beyond these guys and reading books, some of the books helped. Books like, I would suggest, one book of Tariq Ali, Shadows Under the Pomegranate Tree. That book was a game changer for me. When I read that, I realized, okay, the Islam is something different. It's not exactly what I see here. There is a different kind of Islam. There was a different kind of Islam. And there are many different ways of practicing Islam. It's not necessarily you need to go by the Indian ulama, which is what Periyar also says. Don't look at Islam by the local guys. It is not about wearing a lungi or sporting a beard or skull cap. Islam is more than that. Like that, then many other books, opened up my own eyes. And where I come from, again, the Tamil pride, I said. So I'm sure, many of you in North India, one of the beliefs is that the Tamilians are predominantly vegetarians. That's one. Because the people that you interact with in North India are mostly the Tamil Brahmins. The Brahmins are vegetarians, and they form only about 3.5% of the Tamil population. So the bulk of the Tamils are non-vegetarians. So these kind of misconceptions, there are so many things like that. So at one point of time, I was in journalism, so I started countering things when there were propaganda against it. At some point of time, I thought, it's best to make it a film. How many people do you talk to? Do you give lectures and do? And that's how I ended up making the film. And even after that, I've continued my work. I realized, it's only a starting point. There are so many misconceptions. So this film will open up a lot of areas for you. So 10 minutes, we'll look at the film. And then from there, we'll go into the other area. Okay? You're able to hear?
For over 2,000 years, that Asians were trading in spices. Tamilagam, or the Tamil country, was the center of the ancient maritime trade route that connected the Far East with West Asia, Africa, and Europe, and left an indelible geopolitical and social impact on the region. Even Tamil Sangam poems have many references to this bustling spice trade. The Muziris that prospered by the arrival of the ships of the Yavanas, who brought gold and took back pepper in exchange. Around the beginning of the Common Era, a greater understanding of the seasonal change in the direction of the monsoon winds led to a direct and shorter sea route from Arabia to India. As a result, when the southwest monsoon was active, it took Arab seafarers just 40 days to travel from Arabia to the west coast of Tamilagam. This trade was not just about exchanging goods, but also ideas and technology. It was through this trade route that, to spread Christianity, St. Thomas is believed to have reached Muziris, Kodungallur, a major port city of the day. Muziris was ruled by the Cheras, one of the three major dynasties of the Tamil country. In the mid-7th century, Islam too arrived on the Tamil coast. For it is at Kodungallur we find the Cheraman Jummapalli, one of the oldest mosques in India. The 9th century, Teresa Palli copper plate, meaning the copper plate of Teresa's church, is another interesting piece of evidence indicating the presence of West Asian traders and Muslims in this southern India. The Pahlavi, Kufi, Arabic and Hebrew script on the copper plate describe the cosmopolitan of the medieval period merchant guild known as Anjuvannam. The Tamil Muslims are largely considered as the inheritors of this guild. Recent discoveries on the banks of Vaigai River near Madurai, the capital of the Pandyas, have thrown up early 8th century Umayyad period gold coins, the dinars. An inscription inside the Goripalayam Dargah at Madurai speaks of 6 villages being bought by Muslims for 14,000 gold coins during the reign of Kun Pandya. The dinars and dirhams find mention in various inscriptions across the Tamil country, including Raja Chola's Brihadishwara temple, also known as Big Temple at Thanjavur, built almost 1,000 years ago. By the time the Big Temple was being built, between 1003 and 1010 CE, the word Yavana was replaced by the word Sonagan, which scholars identify more closely with Tamil-speaking Muslims. In the detailed inscriptions of the Raja, besides Dirham, known in the Tamil country as Drammam, we find one of his officials being referred to as Sonagan Savur, a name which recurs in an inscription at Kolar, attributed to Raja's illustrious son, Rajendra Chola, clearly establishing the presence of Muslims in the kingdom. The Muslim traders were highly respected for the enormous wealth they brought to the Tamil country. So were the Sufis for their mysticism. As many inscriptions indicate, the Tamil rulers granted them places to build mosques, along with other privileges. Wherever Islam spread, it adapted the local architectural tradition. In Tamil Nadu, it used the Dravidian architectural tradition of using granite. Since the Tamil mosques were built of stone, they came to be known as Kallupalli. There are thousands of such mosques built of stone masonry all over Tamil Nadu. One of the finest examples of Dravidian Islamic architecture is the mosque built by Sidakadi Marakkayar, a great maritime trader and philanthropist of the 17th century at Kizhakkarai in Ramanathapuram district of Tamil Nadu. An important legacy of Islam in the Tamil world is a rich body of literature spanning almost the last 5 centuries. They were written in both Tamil and Arabic and consist of a wide array of treatises on doctrines and legal matters, hymns, poems, mystical songs, and long epics about events in the life of the Prophet Muhammad and other prophets, saints, and rulers.
ஒன்றோடொன்று மறுவிரியாய் உள்ளொளிக்கும் மேலொளியாய் ஒன்றோடொன்றாய் தருவிரியாய் அயர்விரியாய் அந்த பகிரண்டமெனும் அடங்கில் அண்ட பகிரண்டமெனும் அடங்கில் வெறுவிரியாய்க்கும் அருமை பொருளன் வெறுவிரியாய்க்கும் ஒருமை பொருளாய் விளங்கியவள் அந்தாய் நின்ற ஒரு பொருளை பெரும் பொருள் என்று வரும் உள்கருத்தினில் வைத்துணருவீரே. ஒரு பொருளை பெரும் பொருள் என்று வரும் உட்கருத்தினில்
This rich literary trove of Tamil literature existed alongside traditional Arabic texts, a hybrid language called Arabic Tamil or Arvi was also in use, which adopted a modified version of the Arabic alphabet to write in Tamil. The maritime spice trade brought Islam to Tamilakam. People fleeing the social and religious conflicts that began in the 7th century in the Tamil country and the caste-based oppression found refuge in Islam. The work of Sufis and the intermarriages in the Tamil country and across the seas led to the evolution of the Tamil Muslim community over a period of time. For centuries, Tamil Muslims played a significant role in the socio-economic and cultural developments of the regions that were touched by the spice route. Thus, Tamil Muslims, because of the deep roots and bonds they created, not just in their homeland, but also across the seas, in Sri Lanka, Myanmar, and much of Southeast Asia, can be considered as the children of the spice route.
I hope it gives you an idea. So this is a 52-minute long film, which I've tried to compress in 10 minutes and give it to you. Now, if you go through this, there is so much of unlearning. And so, I would welcome any questions on this film, and then we'll go probably with the things that I have to say later on. Or do you want me to go with the flow? Any questions on this?
I think if we get the questions out of the way, then you can focus on your talk. Yeah. But I was just curious, the last part where the person is singing a song, is that one of the traditional, very old songs about religion, about Islam in Tamil?
Yeah, it's actually sung from one of the oldest of the Tamil Islamic literature. It would be almost like, let's say, 500 years old. So from that, he is singing a song in praise of Allah. So this is for many non-Tamils or South Indians who might not understand, there would have been on the right side corner, Kapi Raga. That's the ragam in which the song is sung, according to the Tamil musical traditions, which today is also known Carnatic music, South Indian Carnatic music. So there were Tamil Islamic kirtanas, Tamil Islamic songs, which are written in this particular format.
Mm-hmm. Wow, and it's 500 years old.
So today, many Tamils, especially the Brahmins here, who use the Carnatic music more often, for them it is a big surprise to know that there is a rich tradition of Tamil Islamic literature, which also has the musical tradition.
Wow. Anybody else who has a question?
I have a comment. I actually noticed in the architecture of the mosque, the same pillar-based designs that are used in, temples of Tamil Nadu, because and the same, like there's a pillar and then there's a, I don't know the way it, I'm not getting the word, but it fans out and holds supports the roof. So it's exactly the same. You would not know a difference. And this I think the architecture came also from the palaces of Tamil Nadu as well. So
Yeah, I mean, I'm coming to that. See, the thing is, see, this is where a lot of unlearning helps. Unlearning, not just, I mean, it's for everyone, not just Muslims, I'm saying. Muslims also need to unlearn a lot. Thing is, in Islam, unlike in South India or with Hindu, and when I say Hindu, again, who is a Hindu? That's also a question. What is Hindu? Hinduism, all that also needs to be debated. Let us say the Orthodox or the high caste Brahminical Hinduism. That would be a better thing. In that definition, higher caste, let's say higher caste, should not say Brahminical. So in that, you have the architecture defined into two ways, Nagari and Dravidian. And there are agamic traditions, how a temple has to be built. A South Indian temple in a certain way and a North Indian temple, I'm sure, what happened there, for instance, in Ayodhya, also still followed the Nagari, agamic tradition. So, but in Islam, there is no such thing. You don't have a kind of a structural dimension, saying that a mosque has to be like this. But today, if I ask you to represent Islam, if I ask you to draw some aspect of Islam that I'm sure most of you will immediately go for a dome and minaret, which is the easier thing to draw. It is a very stereotypical image. But if you look at it, Prophet's mosque, his own mosque, it neither had a dome nor a minaret. Okay. It was his house courtyard that was initially the mosque. And even after him, within that 100 years, I don't think there was a dome or minaret in any of the mosques. It was subsequently when Persia and Turkey and other areas came under Islam and those architectural styles got added, and then a fusion happened, and then with the Delhi Sultanate and much later with the Mughals, then you arrive at a style, and that style is what the colonizers see. When I say colonizers, I'm talking about the European colonizers. And in their monotheistic view and their own understanding of Islam, by the opponents whom they see, the Moors that they saw in Spain and or the Crusades, where they met. So from that they draw and then they figure out, they understand, they pass judgment and they say this is what is Islam. And we end up today, the thing is, what the colonizers thought, today I think the Muslims have internalized it and made it, that is what is Islam. And not just the Muslims. Similarly, what we call as the Hindus, they also internalized a lot of things that the colonizers said this is what is Hinduism, through the interlocutors that they had. And today that is what we have. So architecture, yes, if you look at it, Islam, that way, not just architecture, just the tip of an iceberg. It tells you the kind of enormous diversity that is there within the Islamic societies. And, one of the Surah Al-Hijrat, one of the Quranic verses, it talks about, creating the man and woman and then people as different nations and tribes, where diversity is an accepted part. And also another thing is that Islam in the Quran doesn't give the divine right to the language. The Arabic doesn't become a divine language in Quran. And unlike Deva Bhasha, which is Sanskrit here in India, you don't have a kind of a Deva Bhasha here. So these are the kind of things you need to have when you're approaching. That unlearning helps in a way. So I hope I have answered your comment on the architecture. So wherever it spread, it adapted. So China, it spread much earlier. So you have a much older Muslim community in China too. the Huns. And the Uyghurs are later additions, and there is a problem, but much of it, I do not know how much of it to believe, because there's so much of Western propaganda about the persecution of Uyghurs. I would not really go by the Western propaganda. And so you have some of the oldest mosques in China. Similarly, in Tamil Nadu, the mosque will be at least 1,000 years old. 1,200 years old mosque will be in Tamil Nadu. So, and the architecture, regarding the architecture, you said temples. So let us get this thing clear. Now, when you say temple, it becomes a problem. Immediately, a lot of people, we know that, this would have been a temple that has been converted into a mosque. As I said, Islam doesn't say, how it has to be. So people were there aware. There were no proper, since there was no tradition as to how a mosque has to be, people built, whatever, wherever they were, they just followed the basic norms of Islam, which is, you don't worship an idol. Okay, and it has to face towards Mecca. So these are the provisions. The place has to be clean and neat. So in Kerala, you have the Dravidian architectural style, but also with Kerala's own unique Ambalam style of architecture. The hilly terrain, what it have. And in Tamil Nadu, where granite was more available. So you have mosque built in granite architecture, the Dravidian Islamic architecture. So it's not just the mosques alone. If you look at Jainism, there is the Tamil Jain community. I'm not sure how many of you are aware of that. Jainism in Tamil Nadu is 2,000 years old. Okay. And we Tamils owe a lot to the Tamil Jains because they are the ones who have given us our grammar. Our grammar and our epics basically, come from the Tamil Jains and Buddhists. Tamils have a past where Jainism and Buddhism, were there as a part of the state religion. So you would have briefly seen that persecution in my film, people being killed. Now that is not Muslims killing those Jains and Buddhists. It's basically the Tamil Jains and Buddhists were persecuted by the Tamil Shaivites and Vaishnavites. And that started in the 7th century. And that is the period they call the Bhakti movement. Now, when I say Bhakti movement, a lot in North India, and just today I read a writer who confused the Bhakti movement for the North Indian Bhakti movement. North Indian Bhakti movement, with Kabir and all that comes much later. But in South India, we had a Bhakti movement by 7th century itself. 7th to 8th, 9th century, there was a Bhakti movement. And that Bhakti movement was basically about reinventing Shaivism and Vaishnavism. Okay, the poets, they came. But many of the songs, especially two of the saints, quite a few saints, quite a few of the singers, they actually went about denigrating Jains and Buddhists. Not just denigrating, the songs will have verses which actually threaten them. That they should be done away with. You need to do away with the Tamil Jains and Buddhists, for this place to be clean. So the Tamil Jains, after that, they were complete. So our belief is that Islam came here through the first conversions. It came through the trade, the maritime trade, and by 7th century itself. And but the first conversions took place because of people fleeing from persecution of the Shaivites and Vaishnavites, the Jains and Buddhists. So the Tamil Jain place of worship, known as Pallis, they call their place of worship as Palli. And exactly that is the word the Tamil Muslims use for the mosque. So their Pallis also have the same Dravidian architectural style. So this architectural style was common to the land. So not just mosques or temples. If you are going for a pilgrimage, any public structure, there will be chowtries or sarais, on the way, on these roadsides. And you will find all of them with this granite architecture. So this is the architecture of the land. The same if you go into Karnataka, you will not find the kind of Dravidian temples all over. If you go into the hilly areas, you will not find this. Okay, even in Kerala, only in southern Kerala, you will find more of the kind of the temple architecture In northern Kerala, where it's a hilly tract, the architecture will differ. So that is the difference. So this is a common architecture of the land which was shared by every community. So I hope I've given you a clear answer on the architecture part. Okay. So now let's come to Hinduism. Now Hinduism, what is Hinduism exactly? And the thing is that a lot of people, as I said, the word Hindu itself is much later origin. It was basically initially used by the Arabs, and then later on when the colonizers came, when the Christian missionaries came, they used the word. So, but before that, it's quite a lot of various practices, various I wouldn't say castes, religions. The Shaivite considered themselves as a religion at one point of time, and Vaishnavism was a kind of a religion. Now, today they might have melded into one, but still there are sharp divisions. And if you look at Tamil Nadu, one of the things is that a lot of them believe that Shiva, Vishnu, Brahma, these are the three main deities for Hindus. That is, I think many Muslims and non-Hindus might believe that, and Hindus might themselves believe that. But if you look at Tamil Nadu, for a lot of Tamilians, the main deities are not main gods for them, are not Shiva or Vishnu. It is the Amman deities, the mother goddesses, or they have the family deities. They are more important than the Shiva or Vishnu. Okay, and these are meat eating. Many of them are meat eating. They are not vegetarian. They are not pure. So these are the things. So who is a Hindu? Now, who is defining who is a Hindu? So we need to get clear on what is Hinduism, to understand, unlearn ourselves from what is Hinduism itself. Whose Hinduism are we talking about? Again, now when we hear Tamil Nadu, we have this problem. Ever since 2014, now we talk about Hinduism and Hindutva. We see it that way because all three seems to be interlinked. Even for the Hindutva itself, the representation is more of the North Indian Hinduism. That's how it comes. So once you get these things, understandings, and even within Hinduism, within even the Brahminical, there is so much of diversity. Now, for example, the Bengali Brahmins, would eat fish, whereas the Tamil Brahmin would not eat fish. Okay. And the beliefs, I know of Tamil Brahmins, who have family deities, who would sacrifice goat. Tamil Brahmins, which many for Tamil Brahmins would be a surprise, that, goat is being sacrificed. So the thing is, India is a fantastic land of diversity. And the diversity is amazing. Within a few kilometers radius, things change. Within communities, for example, if you take Vaishnavism, and I'm talking about Tamil Vaishnavism. Within Tamil Vaishnavism itself, there are divisions, broad divisions. Vadagalai Tengalai, which is the north or the south. The affiliations differ that way. And they identify by the markers they have it on their head. And there are cases pending. The temple elephant, what is the identification marker it should wear? There is a case pending in Supreme Court. They have gone to the Supreme Court as to which one should it be. So that kind of a phenomenal diversity, which I'm saying within the Brahmins, within the Vaishnavite sect in Tamil Brahmins. So without you need to take that into consideration. It's a wide, phenomenal diversity that is there within Hinduism. And our own practices, as I said, if you look at it, many of the Tamilians, the belief, I speak mainly from this area because I'm more used to this. I would rather talk about my area of expertise, where I'm located, than something else. So you see this across, and when Hinduism came into, when the census happened, I don't need to be educated. When census happened first, the Dalits were not even part of the Hindu folk. When the numbers were not in favor, that's when the Dalits get added. So first they were even out of the Varna system. Yeah. Now I come to another important one, which is the Muslims. One of the biggest misconceptions, misunderstandings of Islam is within the Muslim community itself. And everybody thinks that everybody accepts that Islam is one of the most misunderstood religion. But what many don't understand is Islam is more misunderstood by Muslims themselves than others. For example, today, if you go by what is Islam today and what it was at one point of time, today in many of the Indian mosques, most of the Indian mosques, I would say, women will not be permitted inside. But in Prophet's mosque, women were praying. Okay, and the holiest of holy places, Kaaba, which is Mecca, in Mecca, the Kaaba, which is where every Muslim, if he's able, has to make a trip, the pilgrimage trip. There is not even a line, not even a rope separating the men from the women. It is, free for all. There is no segregation at all once you enter that Kaaba. I was there. I had to go there because my father went for Hajj pilgrimage and he passed away in Medina. So I had to go there, and then I also had to do the pilgrimage. And, in Kaaba, it was a lesson for me because there is no segregation, no proper queue or anything. Because they don't believe that, you can be segregated in front of God. And for a lot of people, for millions of Muslims, it is their life's desire. Their only desire is to make that pilgrimage. So when people come over there, they are frenzied. When they enter into Kaaba, they're in a state of kind of frenzy. And they really do not see, what is in front of them. And I was literally, I had to do the 7 rounds of the Kaaba. And you just get in, that's it. You are pushed. There are men, women around you, behind you, pushing. No one knows who is where. Women are all around you. And there is not a single rope segregating. That is what the most holiest of holy places. But then see what happens. Try going inside a mosque in India, a woman entering a mosque. Leave aside non-Muslims. And I'm just saying Muslim women entering a mosque. I'm sure Alia has enough experience. I don't know whether she tried. Prayer time, try entering. You would see the patriarchy kick in. They'll tell you, it is not your place.
We have a different section in the mosque, and we have a smaller section, and we don't have the fans and all of it. Yeah, so.
Now, at least you have a different section. Many mosques, there is no section at all for women. That is the real state. Now, I tried arguing, and I showed you one of those beautiful mosques in Kilakarai, one of the most beautiful mosques built in late 17th century, or early 18th century. I wanted to take, as part of my helping people understand the cultures, I want to take people in. This is fine, people are welcome, but are you going to bring women? I said, yes, of course. No, but women cannot be brought in. I said, why not? No, for certain reasons. I said, why? No, they might have menses or something. Now, Kaaba allows, okay? And here, the look, so this is patriarchy, Indian patriarchy. And the thing is, mind you, here, Tamil Nadu is an exception, surprisingly, and research needs to be done on that. There is caste among Muslims in India. Islam, which talks about universal brotherhood, the reality is there is caste. It was an education for me. I didn't know. In Tamil Nadu, we don't have that. We have broad divisions, but that are not caste divisions. These are based on world professions. And today, people don't really, see into those things. And those divisions doesn't really translate to who is superior, who is inferior, and all that. Once you go into a mosque, everyone allows you into a mosque. But watching this film India Untouched, I don't know how many of you have watched this film India Untouched. And I would really recommend you people to watch this film India Untouched by Charlene K. It's a 2-hour long film. it looks at untouchability in India. Okay, I think it has taken number of years to do the film. They traveled across India. They even come to Tamil Nadu, and that is where it slightly differ, where they try to, the problem is they try to extrapolate whatever they get across in one place, and then they try to extrapolate Tamil Nadu. That is what the problem is. But otherwise, I find that film very fascinating. It gives you an insight, and it talks about caste in Islam in North India very much. So one of the scholars that, a scholarly friend of mine, he says that the reason is that Islam came through Iran and to India, to northern India. Because southern India, you saw was through maritime trade, and that's a different thing. To northern India, it came through, and then caste is a South Asian problem. It's not just confined to just India alone. And it's a South Asian thing. So that Islam in North India also has taken it. So these are the things that we need to factor in. To put everybody in the same thing, Muslims, the broad feeling is that all Muslims, they follow one command. They think that everybody, even in Christianity, it's not the same. Even in Christianity, the Pope is listened to only by the Catholics, the Roman Catholics. In that, there are even different denominations. The Protestants are different, the Anglican, there are so many variations. So within Islam also, there are so many divisions. I'm sure in this field, many of you are aware, I don't need to be enlightening you on that. The Shia as well as the Sunni. And so within Tamil Nadu itself, the number of communities. Now, the Hindu communities are vast and diverse. I don't need to mention the number of castes. Today, they are known by the caste names. Caste itself is an evolving thing in Tamil Nadu. I'm sure across India also. And in Tamil Nadu, the Muslim communities itself, there are a number of Muslim communities. The two divisions, broadly the Shia and Sunni, and then the linguistic divisions, which is the Urdu, the Tamil, the Malayalam, the Telugu, and then the Gujarati Muslims. So these are the kind of the diversity, and each one follows a different practice. It's not exactly the same thing. Now, culturally, if you look at it, I would say, for a Tamil Muslim, a North Indian Muslim is like chalk and cheese for me. Food habits, a lot of things differ. So initially, intimidated. Somebody said, no, this is the right way to do. Then you realize, in your culture, you do it differently. So these are some of the learnings that I have. So please, I've spoken for a while. I welcome any questions. And you can differ with me because I'm also throwing some things about Islam which might be agreeable or might not be agreeable to you.
Tulika has a question, sir. Tulika, go ahead.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah.
Sir, first of all, I really liked your documentary. I really understood a bit of it, but it was really nice to witness it. So, sir, you talked about the Bhakti movement, which started in 7th century when Jainism and Buddhism and Shaivism and Vaishnavism was introduced, and that was the initiation point of the entire Bhakti movement. So, and now, like how you mentioned, how we as North Indians witness when it comes to diversity among one religion, like, Shia and Sunni and Varna system. I had no idea Dalits were not even counted among the one group. I had no idea about it. So my thing is, when they started this in 7th century, sir, as far as I have read, Jainism, even they were divided among Digambars and Shvetambars. Buddhism, Hinayan, North India, Mahayan, South India. And then, sir, even Shaivism and Vaishnavism. So even Shaivism. So I was associated with Shaivism for some time. I was planning to do my research on it, Kashmir Shaivism. So I read a little bit about it. I visited Chennai to attend this international conference, which was on Kashmir Shaivism. So, and since I was in Chennai, I got the chance to visit all the temples, beautiful temples over there. But I think this phrase that you used, the universal brotherhood or the universal sisterhood, right? So I think there was this one vibration or something, irrespective of the fact that you visit a temple or you attend a Shaivism conference or maybe you go to a mosque. There was this, I think, universal, some sort of union which helped us to meet. It helped me discover that actually, okay, there would be diversities, there would be differentiations, even among the religion, even among the caste. But there's one thing, like there's one union which brings all of us together. So the entire talk about this really resonated with all of that. So, and also, sir, there's one like specific question. This was just a comment, no question. I really liked the session. So there's just one thing, little thing that clicked. So what happened to the women? Like when you said that when I think in the presence of prophet, or there was this certain timeline when women were allowed to go to mosques. What happened? What changed things? What happened that they restricted these visits of women to the mosque? I am ignorant. I don't know about it, sir. So yes.
Alia, you want to answer that?
I don't want it to get more controversial, but my personal experience is like I visited Saudi Arabia 4 years ago, 5 years ago, and my experience was, there is a culture of women visiting the mosque regularly. There is a culture, like if they are mothers, there's a culture of somebody else looking after, usually the other parent looking after the children while the women are at the mosque. And there are also adjacent playgrounds for the children to be engaged in while the women are praying. So they have a different section. They have mosques named after them. So there is something lacking in Indian culture, I feel. That's why we don't have enough mosques or enough good quality mosques or enough space or enough facilities in mosques in India. That's my experience. Because as I said, Friday, we only have space for congregation in Friday prayers, and there's hardly anything. Sometimes there's a tent there. There's no, pakka structure there. There's nothing concrete. Sometimes the fans are not working. Something or the other is always wrong with women's section in the mosque, and I don't find that to be the case in Saudi Arabia. So we need to be doing something about it. And when I say we, I think I also am personally responsible for it, because I never took it up with the people who could bring about a change in this situation. Cribbing about it is different, but trying to do something positive about it is something altogether different. So it's about the culture, and that's what I feel. Maybe Zikra can share her opinion, or Asna can share her opinion, but this is my opinion about it. This is a very Indian thing. Or maybe Asian thing. Maybe it's the same in the neighboring countries as well. Who knows?
Zikra, you want to?
Hi, good evening, sir. So my opinion is also same as Alia said. There is no facility for women, and there is no separate section for women to stay there to offer namaz over there. This is the reason we don't have separate space for women, and once we don't have separate space for women, and when the women of India, or especially North India, when they will go to mosque, they will be gathered with men. So this is the reason we are avoiding to go to mosque, just because of we don't have any special things or special place in mosque for women. This is the reason. That's why in Saudi Arabia and in Gulf also, women are visiting mosque, and they are having special things in the mosque for women, different section for women to stay there and to offer namaz and to prayer. So this is the reason. That's why we are not having in North India. That's why we are not going to mosque. But in Islam, I don't think it's restricted to go to mosque.
So, Asna, you want to say?
Yes, sir, I do agree with both of their comments and experiences because it's definitely taken out of our own lives. So, me as a Keralite who came to Delhi to study, the same thing that I've observed in the mosque in Kerala as well as in Delhi is that we never have spaces. Our mobility is always restricted in mosque. As Alia said, it is restricted to a very small space with no facilities as such. And every time I find it very difficult. Even I'm pursuing my graduation at Jamia, so we do have mosque, but I always find why can't we have a place to take wudu like men as equal to them? We don't have a space. Even if a space is given, there's a very small space. Nothing might be working. No one even cares to look how it goes and all. So that is a similar kind of experience, and I have also felt bad on that.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you.
And you know why it's really about culture. Let me tell you, there is Islam in America. I happened to visit America a few years ago, and the mosques that the white Westerners who have turned to Islam have made are so much better equipped for actual praying and zikr and all of that. The state-of-the-art mosque, and the women's section has everything that you can imagine. Sometimes it even has snacks. And at the same time, we were on a road trip. We happened to stop by at a mosque, which was made by Bangladeshis. And the funny thing over there is, while my husband was praying in the the fancy part of the mosque, we asked where I could pray. So they sent me to the kitchen. I actually said my prayers in a kitchen in a Bangladeshi mosque. So it's really about the culture. We don't think that women should be going out of the house. We don't think it's important for them to go to a mosque to pray. We have kids to look after and all of that. So it's really different for women.
I just have one more, just one little thing to ask actually in this topic. That does having, I don't know, female clerics help with, establishing better female, I don't know, in India, I haven't met any female imam, or female preacher or much, but I do know that in some countries, some places, they have female clerics. So, but it's rare, of course, even in the more modern part of the world, it is still rare. But I wanted to kind of also bring in that, when, like with government or like with a corporate structure, you have a glass ceiling. So I think when women are on top in other organizations or in the government or in companies, they pull more women up. So I just was wondering about that as well.
Okay. Tulika, you had some question? I saw you raise your...
Sir, I didn't really have a question. When Alia ma'am said that she had to go to kitchen and pray, that the immediate thought was, this is like suppressing patriarchy with another form of patriarchy, or woman worshipping in the kitchen.
But I mean, it was a huge hall, but the purpose of it was to cook food. Let's not forget that. It was huge. It wasn't a small place.
I just have another little question, Alia ma'am, to you and Zikra and Asna. Do you guys feel that had you been in another country or somewhere, though, it would have been better for you? Like how you said, at the worship, like that, because that is intrapersonal communication. You're supposed to communicate when you are at a place where you talk to yourself and the union, basically. So, and you can choose to not answer that. It could be a stupid question. I don't mind that.
Oh no, I mean, I just feel right now when I was answering Sir's question, I just realized that this is my fault too. I never brought it up with anybody. Like even there when I was in that mosque praying in the kitchen, I didn't go out. I was just very amused. I told my husband that such a thing happened. But neither of us thought of going to, the caretaker of the mosque and bringing that up with him. And saying that, women need to have a better place to pray, not in the smells of lesan and adrak and all of that. So, now I do feel bad about it. I think I should start doing something about it. And like Pragya said, it has to be really bottom up. It's not like one day we decide to have a female mosque and we decide to have a female imam and everything is going to get solved overnight. that's not the case because, yeah, we are Indians. We hardly let other people do their work in peace. So we're going to start meddling with the female imam also. You should be doing things like this, like that, something or the other. So we need to have stronger women who can become better imams. Yeah, and better responsible for their mosques or for their women, or a lot has to change for that. Sonal has a question, sir.
Yeah, I have a
Yes.
question. Why is the situation different with the Khojas and Bohris? Because I visited the Bohri mosque twice, like at different places in Nagpur, and the women were given the equal importance over there. And I've found it very fascinating. I mean, that was really wonderful experience I had. So why this difference?
Okay. Thanks. Before I come to that, the lone man over whom I could see and has disappeared, Munir, he hasn't spoken. I'm sure he has also his own views. Munir, would you mind sharing?
Yeah, we'd
It's
love
all
to hear
women's
your
views.
views.
Still, now women seem to be more outspoken. The only man, whom I can see here.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. I have certain comments to what has already been said about women, particularly, and the mosque thing or the sacred spaces for them. As much as it's a cultural thing and a cultural fault, it has to do about this learning and unlearning process as well. So basically, what has been propagating, if you go into a study of why a particular community or a particular society tells you that women are not allowed in mosques, is basically that in the Quran they say that there have been certain verses directed to Ahl Bayt, the family of Prophet, where they were for certain times, on certain occasions, asked to not to come out of homes or to wheel in that jalabain, chadar kind of a thing. So coming from that, the argument is all over the same, that if it is better for the family of Prophet, it is better for us. So Prophet's family was prohibited to come out on those occasions, so it's better for us to keep our women inside houses and not to ask them come out. So then comes the culture. First of all, they have a justification to it, they have a culture to it. Then they come secondary to it and they make it a cultural thing, which is a patriarchal thing, obviously. And the precise thing is that what Pragya ma'am actually made a question about imam, women imam. This was raised by Amna Wadud, who is a Islamic feminist as well. She has been arguing on it, and she was never appreciated for it. She never got any appreciation from Muslim clerks because of that. They have menses, they cannot pray, they cannot lead the prayer in that situation, as if menses are as a thing that what there have been deities in Hinduism where women, the Sabrimala temple issue, that menses women cannot be allowed there for the same reason. So this impurity of a thing, which is neither impure in Hinduism as such, neither in Islam, but a cultural thing that has to do with this cultural stratification and the patriarchy coming into place, that has made it more difficult for people. Otherwise, there is no such thing. I mean, you mentioned verily about the Hajj practice, where there is no distinction between it. And also, men feel, being a man, I have been witnessing it, men here in Asia particularly, or in other countries, feel very much, vulnerable if they are if women are actually worshipping on the other side of the that wheel. If they are worshipping there, they say, no, our mind is always there, so they won't be welcome. So participation of young lads increases that way, and people feel that it's a problem.
But I see that happen in many temples. I go to temples and I go to churches. Churches, Sunday service, you find both men and women, sitting together and praying. And, in many temples, they are standing opposite each other and praying to the deity.
Absolutely. The inclusivity thing that is predominant in, Western societies, I was coming to that. In Western societies, the people who have converted to Islam were the people majorly who have been actually questioning Islam or religion for this non-inclusiveness. After reading, after studying, they got into it and they then welcome inclusivity. They have unlearned in the process. They have learned anything else in the process, and they have come with this viable thing. What we are inherited Muslims, we come with our stereotypes, our prejudices from the upbringing of ours. That's why it's very hard for us to unlearn these stereotypes. That becomes a hurdle in this process. That will be my opinion on it, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Munir. I think quite a few, and Munir did answer a lot of things, did give. And I was about to talk about Amina Wadud. I'm sure, her Quran and women, you need to read if you haven't. That gives an answer. And then, it's Ahlebeth, you said, and Prophet, kept the women. But the thing is, Prophet's mosque had women praying. Okay, it was, if I'm right, it was Umar who came after, who banned women coming into the mosque. So during Prophet's time, women were there. It is only after Prophet that women were forbidden. So now you take your pick on Islam. Which one are you going to? Okay. And yes, as I think Sonali said, the Boras or the Boris. Yes, they have the Gujarati in Madras itself. I find how they practice it is the ground floor is for men and the upstairs is for the women. And that's a trading community, mercantile community. And Madras, it's quite interesting. The women are not allowed to cook. The meal, the lunch, because it's a mercantile community, trading community, most of them are in shops. They have their own business establishment. The community leaders feel women should not be wasting their time cooking. They should rather men see that maintain the till. Look at the shop. They'll also be there in the business. They actually sit along with the men. They look after the shop and all that. So lunch is sent from the community kitchen. That is what the Boras, Gujarat Boras, Bora Muslims do.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
But the most interesting thing is that if I try to get in there, see, as a Muslim, it came as a shocker. For one of my another Muslims who had this nasty experience. See, Islam is a very flexible religion. You're supposed to pray 5 times a day. Now, if you can't pray 5 times a day, at least once a week on the Friday, okay. So mostly Friday, the Jummah, everybody goes for that Friday sermon, which many would not like to miss. So this Bora Mosque is in Paris Corner, which is one of the heart of Chennai, old Chennai. And this Tamil Muslim guy, he was late for his Friday prayer and saw the Bora Mosque and then went in. He was immediately thrown out. It came as a shock to him that he couldn't go and pray inside a mosque. He thought, all mosques are the same. And here, Tamil Muslim guy, being thrown out of a Bora mosque. That's a community mosque. It's a clan. Okay, so these differences, it was shocking. It took him quite some time to even get out of it. That this entire belief that has been dumbed down on you. Now I realize the Sunnis hate the Shias and Shias hate the Sunnis. You go into the Shia locality, I do heritage walks. I do the Shia heritage walk. During Muharram, I do the Muharram heritage walk where we have a small Shia community in Madras. It's very fascinating, their practices. So I was completely, Tamil Muslims are Sunnis. So for me, everything was new. But I could, correlate some of their practices, them beating themselves, all that. I saw those things in Tamil culture. In the Murugan worship, in the Tamil Hindu culture, they flagellate themselves, all that I've seen. So for me, it was not shocking. But I was surprised to see that, the Shias were doing it, cutting themselves, blades and all that, on the Muharram day. So I was quite fascinated. I didn't feel revulsion or anything. I was fascinated that, something like this in an ancient culture that the Tamils practice, the Tamil Hindus practice, you find the Shias practicing. And you find commonality, which is fire walking. Okay? many Hindus in Tamil Nadu, I'm not talking the Brahmins, would do fire walking. And during Muharram, you find Shias doing fire walking here. And today, many Muslims have kind of given it up, but still Hindus do the fire walking during Muharram in Madras. Okay, so I do this heritage walk, and I've taken people inside, and I'll be the lone Sunni man, and all the others will be non-Muslims, Hindus. And when I allow some of the Shia speakers, they will rant about against the Sunnis and say Sunnis are cutthroats. We have nothing to do. We have more common things. So all that this hatred is there, visual hatred is there. But then that's the reality. And within the Shias, you find the Bohra Muslims are Shias. Okay, and then there are the Urdu speakers. They all find common ground during the Muharram. But beyond that, the Bohras will not allow anyone. It's a mercantile clan. They will not. They have a spiritual head called Saidana, who sits in Mumbai. Okay, they pay a tax, and you will not find a poor Saidana, poor Bohra Muslim. The community takes care. There is a money lending, all that. In the Gujarat riots, I understand the Bohras were not touched. They already have a kind of understanding, okay, with the powers be. So these differences, but so that apart, now even in Tamil Nadu, among the Tamil Muslims, there is I would really be careful with the term. Many of them use the term reformist movements. For example, the Wahhabi movements are called as reformist movements. I really do not know how reformist they are, because reform to me is very positive. You are reforming it. That's a very positive thing. But then my personal belief is that Wahhabis have actually regressed. They have taken back Islam, to a notch, to what was Prophet's intention. In the name of Prophet, they actually taken back the Muslim community quite a few centuries backwards. That's what I would say. So that is the terminology. But what has happened is some of these movements that sprouted in the 80s and 90s, they allow Muslim women to actually pray by their side. There's a small screen in between, or they pray in a slightly 1 or 2 rows behind. So even with them, it is that the women are one step behind. That is how it is. Women leading the prayers, it is like Amina Badu and others have to fight. But then again, Quran, the very interesting thing is, I'm sorry, there are non-Muslims here, but I'm just still saying, you will be some understanding is there. It talks about the people. Oh, Annas, Ya Annas. Okay, it is only talking about people. It's not talking specifically about men or women. It's addressing to the people. Okay, so most of it, the Quranic sermons, it's to the people. It doesn't really discriminate between gender. But these are things that have come, and for some of you, Quran itself was reorganized. It's not exactly. I have heard of Muslim men, telling me, priests telling that not one word can be changed. It's God's words. You can't play with it. But Quran itself was reorganized in the early 8th century by Hajjaj ibn Yusuf. Now these are things we need to take into consideration. Yeah, sorry, I have gone on this for a while. And cultural factors. Now you look at it. Somebody the other day shared a picture of what was the national dress 30 years back. Afghani national dress, and then Uzbek national dress, and then Saudi national dress. About 80 years back, 100 years back. But all that was different. Today, the national dress is the veil. The black veil seems to have completely overtaken. But is it a cultural factor or is it a religious thing? Does Islam really ask you to veil the way the women veil themselves? Is it only meant for women or is it also for men? And is it this black veil? Is it about hijab? Does it mean this way? Now, these are questions we really need to ask. And the own interpretation. So, I hope there is quite a bit of diversity we see in all this. Unfortunately, my belief is that the Muslims have been at a kind of, I'm just giving you the answer that I think is possible. You can differ with me. I think Muslim community has been a kind of a reactionary mode. Now, ever since the Mongol attack, the sacking of Baitul Hikmah, the House of Wisdom, the Laws of Baghdad. Okay. After that, you have all these guys coming in, Al-Ghazali and Ibn Taymiyyah, and all of them coming. And then the reorient of Islam happens. And then the colonialism. And Islam has been ever since in a mode of reactionary. So whatever is being thrown, you just react. And then at some point of time, what the colonialists think, Muslims have kind of internalized. Just the way the Hindus have internalized and today trying to imitate the Abrahamic religions, by trying to become a monotheistic thing. Same thing, that is what the Muslims have also done. So the unlearning has happened from both sides, not just Muslims, the Hindus, all of us, we need to kind of even Christianity, the Abrahamic faith, even the Christianity itself, there is so much vast difference. With the Christianity that we see today is a European Christianity. We don't realize that Christianity was again born in Jerusalem, here in Asia. Today, we don't see it as an Asian religion. We look at something that came from Europe. Yeah, so these are my thoughts. Any more questions?
Poonam?
Yeah, sorry, Poonam, I think you joined us late. Please, can you just introduce yourself? And
Yes, sir. Yes. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, sir. I am Poonam. I am doing PhD from Jawaharlal Nehru University in economics, and I found whole discussion very interesting. But I am not much like I haven't studied much about the history of this religion. But I have observed from my experiences. I come from a small village in eastern UP. So, sir, in my village, there are local deities, and where after every harvest, crops. And there is rituals like people like women cook food and then they go there and offer that food to deities and worship there. So I never knew that until my graduation. I did not had exposure. I never knew that women are not allowed to enter in the temple or mosque. So while during my graduation, me and my some other friend decided to visit a mazar which was just besides our college, and we did not know, since we did not know that we entered inside and worshipped there. But later on, some local people complained in our college that some of girls from your college entered because it was not allowed. Then and few days after, one other incident happened. Some other girls enter in the Hanuman temples, and apparently we got to know that Hanuman, for women, it is not allowed to touch him because he is celibate, he is unmarried men. So it is across religion also. And also there was another thing which I found paradoxical, because when we see that in India, women have we got voting rights much earlier than Saudi Arabia. There is in Saudi Arabia, I think 2016, women got voting right, and also driving car and everything. It just got very recently there. So there is, it seems paradoxical also, working space and everything. It seems like in Asia it is much there is freedom, but not in context of religion, where they have space for worship, but they have space for other things, maybe they have more space in compared to Saudi Arabian women if it comes from political and education and work space. But for religion it is restricted. Yeah, that's what I wanted to say.
Thank you. Pragya, you were.
I have a comment and a question. So my comment was actually about when you mentioned that, in southern India, we actually have, a lot of gods which are different. So I wanted to actually mention the god of Sabrimala, who is Ayappan. And he's actually, and again, just adding to the diversity part. So he's actually he's called Harihara, or the son of Shiv, and Vishnu in Mohini Avatar. So, at that point of time, I mean, now there's so many priests who will put up arms and they'll say that, Hindu priests will be like, vehemently against the queer part, but he's actually, from a union of a cross-dressing or whatever you may call Vishnu, and that was accepted, and that progeny is actually worshipped, and has humongous popularity. It's not like, so again, like when you talk about diversity, it's there in, of course, all the religion. That was my comment. And my question was regarding the Arabic part, when you said that Quran can be actually read in many in different languages, but there's still still the predominant view is that Quran can only be read or listened to in Arabic. So people even who actually don't understand Arabic, they listen to the to the recitation in Arabic, and then they read the interpretation to understand it. But you have to kind of listen to actually get their sense. So I just wanted to know your comment on that.
Okay. Now, first coming to Poonam, thanks. Yeah, you have this patriarchy across religions. But also, let me tell you, yes, Saudi Arabia, the voting right. See, these are if you take a 3,000 year, 5,000 year span, you have to view history in such a long span. 100 years, 50 years is not a long time. It's a small speck. Okay, these changes happen. Communities, catch up with one another. They go through they may take a slightly longer route and all that. But what was Saudi Arabia in 1920s? Muslim women had property rights much before Hindu women. Okay, and widow remarriage. If you look at Prophet himself, he married a widow. Okay, whereas if you look at the Raja Ram Mohan Rai had to fight for abolition of sati. That we are talking about it until 19th century, and only the Britishers banned sati. Akbar made noises. The Mughals made noises, but the Britishers finally enacted a law banning sati. Okay, so there are ways it works both ways. It's not exactly so. At some point of time, patriarchy starts operating all over. Now again, you find the patriarchy coming in different ways. It's like they see cell phone and the one Kap Panchayat says women should not have cell phones. So it depends, how it works and how it can get. We can lose things. If you think that we can't go back in time, see what is Afghanistan today. If you see pictures of 1970 women of Afghanistan, that's a different thing. And today they are all, behind chadar and all that. So don't think that as time advances, societies progress. Societies can also regress. So it's a cyclical thing. It's not exactly, progress. So if you look at it 2,000 years back, the Tamil society, when we look at our Sangam literature, ancient poems, there's so many women poets. Okay. They are talking about a whole lot of things. They are drinking with men. Having drinks. And today, it is a taboo in Tamil society, so much so that the government, run alcohol centers known as Tasmaks. It's all shady places and they make the big revenue. But then the society has been shamed so much, people hide themselves to go inside and have a drink. That is where we are today. So things change. I'm not saying drinking is all progressive. I'm just saying things are different at one point of time. Even then, 2,000 years back, there was a poet, whom we hold very high in esteem, Thiruvalluvar, who wrote about morals of the society. He spoke about, not abstaining from alcohol, the importance of abstaining from alcohol. Then itself, it was a problem. But then women drank, and they drank with kings, not just with the ordinary people. They wrote poems. They wrote phenomenal amount of works. There are women saints, all that was there. But then they still had problems. So one of the women actually, she prayed to God that let her be made into a elderly woman, past her beauty, so that, she can do her things unmolested. That was the situation even then. And so there are things there. So societies, have these slight differences and all that. But the thing is, till 1920s, till even after independence, Muslim personal law gave Muslim women a lot of rights. Now the men can completely kind of overturn Sharia. Now when they say Sharia is not exactly the same everywhere. The Indian Sharia, what the Indian male is talking about Sharia is something different from what is in Arabia. Okay, what is in practice in Algeria? Okay, here they can just have 4 wives, they can say talaq and all that. Now, all that is becoming legal problem. There in Algeria, it's not that easy. You want to have a second wife, you have to go through a process. You judicial interview and all that, and your wives, the first wife will be interviewed, whether you are able to maintain all that. So it's not exact. So there are all these differences. So we have to look at it, that there is a kind of diversity. So in Hindu societies itself, women played the role of priestesses. In Tamil Nadu, I think coming month, we are going to have a festival. You'll find a lot of women priestesses coming. Women once, played that role, and it is the thing that it was taken away from them. The patriarchy corrupted. So that's one. Now, Pragya, you're the one who spoke about Ayyappa, right? Yeah. Very interesting. Yes, that is there. And then in Tamil Nadu, we have a Koothadavar, which is basically a festival for the cure festival. So it's once a year. They look at Arjuna. Arjuna at one point, in his hiding, has to take the form of a third gender or something. I mean, I don't know the politically correct term. I'm just saying. So it is like being married to him. That festival also, Koothadavar festival, happens here. So that's one. But most interesting is, again, the inclusiveness. The Ayyappas, who is Ayyappa's general? Any pilgrim who is going to Lord Ayyappa, before you go and have his darshan, you need to go to a mosque. And that mosque belongs to Ayyappa's general. His name is Vavar. Babar, I really do not know whether that's the connection. Okay, Vavar Sami. They have to go to the mosque, break coconuts or something, do the prayer, and then only they can go to Ayyappa. They can't complete the process. They can't straight away go to Ayyappa. They have to go to the mosque, they go to pray to Vavar and then go. Now that's another interesting thing. So this would be, so look around, inclusiveness has also been there. The Vaishnavism had tried to incorporate, include Muslims. So if you come to southern Tamil Nadu, in Srirangam, which is considered to be the temple for Tamil Vaishnavites, there's Tulukanachiya. Tuluka is basically a corruption of the word the Turk. And Turk is essentially, they mean the Muslims. Okay? So the story goes that the Delhi Sultans, when they came invading south, they took away a lot of these deities. Now, all these things, you need to question. Remind me, I'll give you a link of a very interesting person who is very active on Twitter, who is debunking a lot of history. Ruchika Sharma. If you haven't followed, I'll just tell her name. So I just lost my thread.
You were telling about Lord Ayyappa's general.
Yeah. So Vavar, similarly in Tamil Vaishnavism, in the temple, so when the Delhi Sultan comes and takes away these idols. Now again, one of the biggest things, debunking, unlearning that we need to do is about this Muslim invasion. Now I question the very term itself, is problematic. Because, it means that Muslims came by invasion. Whereas, you saw my film, it was trade, which brought Islam here, much earlier. I'm sure it was, Gujarat also had the same trade. Islam was already there in most of these parts, trade. The Gujarati Baniyas had been trading then and today. Today they are big, Adanis and Ambanis and all that. Even then they were there. So if you go into Chacha Nama, the invasion of Sindh is caused because of what happens in Gujarat, off the coast of Gujarat. The pirates off the coast of Gujarat, they capture a ship going for Hajj pilgrimage, early 8th century. And Hajjaj ibn Yusuf, who is one of the governor over there, he sends a letter saying that you need to release the hostages. And doesn't happen because the Gujarati king then was probably in collusion with the pirates. That is the cause for the invasion of Sindh. That is what Chacha Nama is saying. Now, so you have, and at that point of time itself, 8th century, I'm talking about the early 8th century when you have these kind of things happening. So Islam already came here. But what we have today, the narrative, which is more by the Delhi Sultanate, and where that left bigger structures. Now coming back to Delhi Sultans, every king is on an expansion spree, just like the Vijayanagara, which tried to expand, or the Marathas who tried to expand. So Delhi Sultans, come here, and the belief is that they took away all these idols. It was not just sultans, any king who was invading. That is where you need to see this woman, Ruchika Sharma. She has this interesting Twitter ID, Eyeshadows and Ithikars. Okay, just watch her. She debunks a whole lot of history, and I think she's from JNU, history teaching professor at JNU. Watch that. So the Sultan is supposed to have taken these idols, and one of the princes, one of the followers in this Vaishnavite, Tamil Vaishnavites, they go to Delhi to get the idol back. And they go to the Sultan and plead with him. And the Sultan says, finally, okay, go. See it in my palace treasury. And there they find that the princess is playing. The Sultan's princess is playing with that idol. And she refuses to part with it. And there are different versions. So they take the idol and the princess follows and finally, comes to Srirangam. So they say that since she was in love with the Vishnu, so she has been married off to him. So there is a deity for Tulkanachiyar in Srirangam. So interestingly, Vishnu, when he comes to meet her, on a particular day, evening, he comes in a lungi, okay? And he is given wheat, parota, those sort of things that the princess would eat. That's how it happens. So this story, these kind of stories you will find, it's not just here, in Tamil Nadu, I have found phenomenal number of stories like that. This is the mainstream stories I'm saying. In Shaivite thing, I'll be able to tell you similar stories of the different faiths coming together. Islamic and the Shaivites meeting. Similarly, Islam and Vaishnavites meeting. And folk deities, there are enough number of folk deities where Muslims themselves have been made into deities. Tamil Muslims have become, deities of being worshipped. It's basically, you worship your ancestor or somebody who did something to your clan. So that you find over there. Now that's very fascinating. Once you go into it, once you get rid of this idea of the Trinity and then you look at people in their daily life, what they practice, it becomes very fascinating. Your neighbor, your friend, everybody's practice becomes, so interesting, so varied. So much varied. That's a interesting thing.
There's this, I just wanted to add to that with the Vavar story. Actually, even the Puri, the Jagannath, the 9-day procession, when it goes to its birthplace, the gods, so there also they stop at a mazar. And this mazar is of a Muslim who actually had a mother who was a Hindu, and she, it was interfaith marriage, and the mother was a big devotee of Jagannath. So he had this reverence of Lord Jagannath, but he was not allowed to ever go to the temple. So when he's on his deathbed, he actually he actually prays to Lord Jagannath that please, give me darshan. And so, so Lord Jagannath obliges, instead of him going to the temple, the gods come to him. So again, like you said, that there's this entire thing. And so now every that procession which goes, that Rath Yatra which goes from the temple to the ancestral home or the parental home of Lord Jagannath, when he goes meet and the three idols go, they stop for a moment, pay the obedience to that mazar, and then go forward. So, and I have seen that temple of the lady who married Vishnu. I think that is there. Also in Trichy, I think that particular god is worshipped. So they told me the whole story that it was that they were the lady waited for many years or something, and then eventually they get married. And yeah.
So that across South India, I thought initially it was Srirangam. Then I realized that most of the Vaishnavite shrines have some story or there, like even Tirupati, that also has a similar thing. Tulkanachiyar. In Madurai, you have similarly, Perumal, Shiva, Vishnu, when he comes down, he is not allowed to go for a marriage, a sister's marriage. So now there is a whole lot of how do you read it? I mean, I'll just tell you this to decode, how the Indian society operates. Now, the festivals were completely the Vijayanagara Nayaks, who are basically Telugus. Initially Kannada, then Telugu and all that come in. When they took over Madurai, they reorganized the festivals. Okay, Hindu festivals being reorganized. The way today Modi is doing, reorganizing things over here. Hindu festivals were being reorganized at that point of time. And so two festivals were made into together. And then you have the thing of Meenakshi. The Madurai deity is known as Meenakshi, come into being. Now the story goes that Meenakshi is actually marrying Shiva. And Vishnu, who is the brother of Meenakshi, is coming for the wedding from the mountain, small hillock where he is residing. And when he comes, now before he comes, he enters the river, the marriage actually takes place. So he gets angry that he has not been able to take part in the marriage, and without entering the city, entering the temple, he leaves in a huff. And he is angry. To satiate his anger, he doesn't immediately go back. He goes into Turukanachia. There is a Muslim woman over there. He goes to her house, spends the night over there, and then after that, from there, he goes back. That is the story. So this varies. It's not exactly Srirangam alone. So I've seen this kind of thing, this same story. What I feel is that this is trying to incorporate, everybody trying to incorporate others into part of their. That is how I see these stories as.
And my question was about the Arabic part. That also, if you can please address.
Yeah, Arabic part. See, the thing is that, there is no language. There's no divine thing. But, for me, I listen to a lot of, I'll come to it this way. A couple of years back, maybe 2 decades back, when DMK came to power again, they had a minister, Tamil Kudimahan. Okay, here the thing is, most of the mantras, used to be told in Sanskrit. Okay, even today, in most of the temples, the mantras are mostly told in Sanskrit. So he brought a rule saying that henceforth mantras will be only told in Tamil, because they do not know what is Sanskrit. So at that point of time, I argued with a friend of mine. I'm a hardened Tamil, but this friend of mine is a Telugu journalist, and I argued this. All said and done, the Sanskrit mantra sloka is nice to hear. It's more soothing to hear. So he told me, Anwar, I don't think you have listened to really chaste Tamil hymns. You should listen to it. Then it so happened I went to Madurai with the Meenakshi Amman temple, and I went into the temple. I went for one of the corporate groups which are supporting the temple in a big way. So I was taken right in, and I have no qualms about entering into the sanctum or anything. I was there, trying to understand. We were watching, people were praying. And you know how these things are. Once you enter into the sanctum sanctorum, there's loud chanting and singing. What Rabindranath Tagore would say, loud chanting and singing of, and then, rolling of beads. So it was really loud and mechanical. When the pujaris do this, it's many times, most of the times, it's very mechanical. So we were all I was looking at this whole function. Then suddenly, we heard most of us turned back because there was this whisper kind of a thing, but very musical. That was coming deep within the heart. Somebody singing, but like a whisper it was. But it was more overpowering than the irony was, it was more overpowering than the loud chanting and singing, of the mantras. So we turned and looked and saw this man. Literally, tears were running through his eyes. I've never seen tears roll through an eyes like that. It was like pouring like in rain. And here was a shy white Oduwa. These are people who are trained to sing divine hymns in praise of Lord Shiva. Okay, I spoke about the Bhakti poetry of 7th century. So they read songs from that in praise of Lord Shiva. This man was singing it, and it was probably coming from deep from within, that tears were running from his eyes. And it was coming so deep from within, it was so musical, so haunting that it was overpowering. None of us, ever bothered to look at the deity being, what they were doing to the deity. We were all looking at this man. And he was singing in Tamil. It's old Tamil. Okay. Then I understood, what the Tamil has a power. Every language has its power. In Tamil, we do have my own daughter's ceremony, naming ceremony. I had invited a cleric, Ajarat, to come and do the prayer and initiation. And then he prayed in Tamil. He did, the obligatory Quranic verses he recited in Arabic, and then he switched over to Tamil. There were a lot of non-Muslims around. There was a Brahmin family. The Brahmin woman was listening to it, and literally tears were pouring from her eyes. When she was listening to the whole thing in Tamil, it was so intense. His prayer was so inclusive, so intense, so beautiful. So I don't think, language there is any bar. But the thing is, as you said, see, for us, as a prayer, as a call for prayer, it's very musical. Already it has been set in tune. Okay? The story goes that Bilal, who was one of the trusted lieutenant of Prophet Muhammad, okay, and he was a slave, whom Prophet gave freedom, and he was given the privilege of giving the call for prayer. Okay? And, that people talk about emancipation, or what happens when a slave embraces Islam, it's given equality and call for prayer. He is supposed to have sang very beautifully. And so these are things, there are emotions attached about the prayer call and all that. So I don't think there is anything as you need to do it only this way, but Muslims are there to it because it doesn't discriminate. It's not like the Sanskrit speakers are superior or only those people, can do. Like in puja, only if you know Sanskrit, you can become a pujari. Those sort of things don't exist here. So it doesn't give you that superiority. So people still adapt it, and I think attempts were made. Ataturk Kamal, correct me if I'm wrong, Kamal Pasha in Turkey in early 1920s, when the Turkic revolution, young Turks came to power, they tried to do away with Arabic in a whole lot of spheres and turned to Turkic prayer and all that. But then I think that later on now things are different. So there have been attempts, there's no compulsion as such, but mostly the prayer call, everybody goes by it. But because it's easy to memorize and then recite it rather than, recite it as a language in your own. That's the thing I see it as. But really in Islam, Quran doesn't, forbid you. For God, there is no language. And again, let me say, Allah is not a Muslim God. Allah is the God, conscience. It's as simple as that. So for even Christians, Allah is Allah. In Arabic, even Christians also use Allah. And many of them, Muslims have this mistaken notion that Abdullah, if you are a Muslim, you need to have names like my name, Anwar or Abdul or Ashraf or Sheikh. Islam doesn't really say so. I have named my daughter Nachiyar, which is a Tamil name. Okay, and I went behind, most of my forefathers have done such names. Okay, if you look at my elders, they have named using many Tamil names. Only now this thing is that the Arabization, this feeling that what is in Arabia, that is probably the true Islam. There's a lot of confusion. That is what it said. So Arabic is not necessarily an Arabic, and Arabia is not necessarily the markers of Islam. That's what I would like to say.
Thank you. And just that's something which you mentioned about the names. One of my Muslim friends also told me that, that is how it goes. I think even people who are converting, they change their names, but it's not necessary. And I think unless your name is named after some deity of something. So if it's like Ram Dulari and then you are sort of like, converting, then you need to change the name. But you don't have to. So that's another thing that I had heard before. Thank you.
So, in that case, it's also even interesting. Indonesia is a very interesting example. Indonesia is the king adopted and then the whole subjects went in. So there are a lot of things what you think as Hindu practices. Garuda Garuda is one of their national symbols. Garuda, which is associated with Vaishnavism and all that, is one of the national symbols for them. Okay, so they see it as a cultural practice, and he names itself, Devi, all that. These are deity names you think, but they think as their cultural names. So Sanskrit, reach there, they feel comfortable with it. So even this, but what you will say is that is the understanding most of us have. Unless specifically doesn't say Hindu god or Hindu god's name, otherwise you can have any common thing. So you find a lot of Tamil Muslim names which will have just Tamil in it. It may not have anything to do with what we think as. So interesting. There is one interesting serial in Netflix, Al Habaya, and there is this actress, Noor, and Lebanese actress, and very beautiful and big fan following. I believe to a few years earlier, when she posted Christmas celebrations on Instagram, there are quite a few Muslims, Pakistani Muslims. How are you posting this thing on Christmas? No, you are a Muslim. Then she said, who said I'm a Muslim? I'm a Christian. Just by Noor, I'm a Lebanese Christian. Noor is an Arabic name. So I think, we need to get out of all these things. Naming it in Arabic, means that it is Islam and all that, or praying in Arabic is what is Islam. I think we need to decouple Arabic and Arabia. Yes, origins, we need to see it in context, but that need not necessarily be what it is. Hasna, you haven't said anything. I'm sure my Malayali comrade has a lot to comment.
I couldn't hear you right now due to range issues. Could you please repeat?
No, I'm just saying, so not necessarily everything to do with Arabic and Arabia has to be Islamic. And Islam is not about talking in Arabic, reciting in Arabic, or praying in Arabic.
Very true. I do agree with you on that, because we all have that tendency to correlate Arab and Islamic culture with the Arab countries and Arab culture. But it's not that. So what you said is, I believe it's a connection between you and Allah. And it's very personal. It's very spiritual. It's not related to a particular language or a particular region as such.
Thank you. Any other comments? I hope I have not offended anyone.
So we are only here to learn and unlearn and relearn. And this was a lovely lecture. I mean, I think I say this for every lecture, but it's just very thought-provoking and a lot of food for thought for us for the rest of the week, I will say.
I just have one more question. Sorry, this is very interesting, and something that that's being an interfaith person and worker. So I wanted to ask you, Mr. Anwar, that what part. I'm sure you had your own unlearning journey. So what part was most difficult for you to unlearn, and what was the process? How did it happen?
No, for me. It wasn't anything, I wouldn't say difficult, but one of the interesting things I would rather share with you. I was at a point where I had enough with these clerics. When they said, you can't touch Quran and all that, and a few other things that happened, about women not being allowed to see films. I had really turned my back on Islam. I was almost out. But a few things kept me in because of things like this brotherhood and all that. Everybody's same. Once you enter the mosque, there's no discrimination or anything. And the kind of cultural habits within the community, food and attar, perfume on a Friday, you dab perfume on your attar, the organic scent on your thing, and go to the mosque and pray and all that. Something like the food, fabulous food. Muslims never complain, rich food. So, but I had almost turned my back, and I studied in Loyola. And Loyola, we had this English paper. Part of the English paper was, what does your religion talk about? We had one paper in English which was on ethics, and it the question was, what does your religion say about heaven and hell? Okay, now when I studied, those were days when there was no Google. So you literally have to go and sweat it out in the library. I went and checked, and what I found was, I was horrified. Okay, it's Surah Ar-Rahman, and it says, men who make it to seventh heaven are eligible. I mean, there's a heaven, are eligible for, there will be rivers of
Rivers of milk, I think.
pardon?
Rivers of milk, I think.
Yeah, rivers of milk. Rivers of milk and honey, will be flowing. You can drink as much as you want, as there's no such thing as sickness in heaven. And there will be wine, which is forbidden here. You can drink as much as you want, for there's no such thing as sickness in heaven. Okay. And fruits will be hanging so low, you don't need to jump. You can eat as much as you want, for there's no such thing as sickness in heaven. Now, all this was fine for me. Okay. Now, what I found problematic was, every man who enters is eligible for, I don't remember the number right, whether it's 40 or 70. 70 women untouched by men or jinn. Okay. Now, coming from a Dravidian movement background, which is all about self-respect, I found it shocking. Okay. Now, women are being, made into property. Okay. Now, how is this? And untouched by men or jinn, virgin women. This is what I'm sure today also you get to hear all this debate. I mean, I was shocked. So I wrote about it in my paper and said, if this is what my religion says, no, I don't really agree. I don't know what I exactly wrote, but I wrote something very strong. Youngster, college kid, I wrote very strong. So interestingly, it's a Christian institution. And the paper was being corrected by a brother, who was going to be ordained as a father. He gave the paper to everyone and then gave it to me and then said, Anwar, I want you to wait after the class. So I waited. Everyone had left. Then he came to me and said, I read your comments. Anwar, let me tell you one thing. When you approach scriptures, please do not read direct meanings into it. There are some things that are said in a way, it is meant for, like a mother telling her children, behave, I'll give you a chocolate. So some things like that. There are hidden meanings also. So you need a lot more understanding. So don't get too judgmental. Don't read literal meanings into it. Now that set me really thinking. I mean, I was pleasantly surprised. One, that was the weakest moment in my faith. Now, if that man had wanted, he could have said, look, this is what is Islam is about. But then that brother was really gracious enough. Jesuit. He said, no, don't approach it this way. So I left it. I still had my doubts. Yeah, maybe, I should not be looking at it, but I left it at that. Then, of course, Tariq Ali, Shadow of the Pomegranate Tree, was big game changer for me. That made me completely take a relook. And today, every day, I discover an aspect of Islam which is phenomenal. My wife and I have an argument. Sometimes my wife says, it's so dull. There's nothing here. Very ritualistic. Some of things are, very. So, there is a lot more richness. I keep discovering. Every day is a new discovery. You go into the diversity. And, as Islam spread, it took in so many cultures. And those early days, they were taking it. They were taking in learning, putting them all together. And that is what made Islam very rich. And today, the thing is, we are throwing it all away. That's a problem. And, the other day, I'm just giving you something. I'm working on a story on Tipu Sultan. Now, there is this dargah near Madras where there is a Sufi who is buried, Tipu Awliya. Okay? Now, Tipu Sultan gets a name from that Sufi who is buried over there. Hyder Ali, Tipu's father, when he was on a campaign, he was childless. So he prays or he, speaks to the Sufi and Sufi promises him, gives him a mango and says, feed your wife. These are things very mystical, so you don't question these things. And he gets a child and he names a child in memory of that saint as Tipu. Okay. Now, what I found interesting is that saint, that Sufi, is also known for caring as a caregiver of animals. Okay. Now, if you non-Muslims, if you had dealt with a lot of Muslims, they will not allow dogs into their houses. Many of them will chase the dogs. Okay. That is a scene. Now, here you find a man caring for donkey, caring for animals. Now, I found it very interesting. And the other day I met somebody, I was in Calicut, now I was speaking to a Maulvi over there, a friend, a Tamil Muslim who is in Calicut. And I was mentioning this. He said, nothing surprising about it. I said, why do you say so? Because the tariqah he comes from. Tariqah are the Sufi orders. Now that is another big world by itself. Okay. I said, what tariqah does he belong? Rifai tariqah. So I said, what is so about? I'm so ignorant. Yes, I do know about tariqahs, but it's so huge. You need to spend a lifetime learning about all these tariqahs. So what is so about Rifai tariqah? Rifai is known for this. In his village, when a dog which was wounded, which was bleeding, and which had sores all over its body, people were stoning it to death. Rifai intervened. He said, I'll take care of the dog, and took the dog away from the village into the forest and stayed with the dog and used herbs available in the forest to heal its wounds. Bandaged it. Put the herbs, applied the herbs, medicine on the wounds and bandaged, healed it. And then saw to it that the dog was cured completely. Once it was healed, he brought it back to the village. Now, when I heard that, I was amazed. This is a different aspect. Now, when you look at Sufis, now again I tell you, Tamil, we have a Sufi. Now the thing is, Allah is again, told to you as you are made to believe that Allah is one of those big dictators, dictatorial God. You don't do this, then Allah will punish you. Now you go into the sermons, listen to these guys. That's why I till today I don't enter into the mosque on Friday after. I don't go for the sermons. They literally, most of them shout and scream, and that's not a place. Ar-Rahman is the most beneficent. Your salutations. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. The most merciful, the most beneficent, the benevolent. None of these things, you listen to the sermons, you will never ever realize that aspect. That you will only find here, where Sufism is. So in Tamil Sufism, we have this man, Kunangudi Mastan, who talks of the divine as a feminine. Okay? Now, let me tell you, North India, none of the Sufis, Muslim Sufis, much earlier, none of them talk of the divine as a feminine. And here in Tamil, we have a Sufi in night. And even in Tamil tradition, there is no one talking of the divine as a feminine. In Tamil tradition, 2000-year-old Tamil tradition, we don't have anyone talking of the divine as a feminine. The first to do that is Kunangudi Mastan Sahib in 19th century, mid-19th century. Then subsequently, other non-Muslims also follow. But then you realize that when you go into Sufism, you have Ibn Arabi in 13th century talking of the divine as a feminine. In West Asia, you have the trend of Muslim Sufis talking of the divine as a feminine. Now tell me, in how much of the Hindu culture would the divine be seen as a feminine? So these are things, these are fascinating things which you discover every day. And so on. So it's like a turning point was, Tariq Ali was one of the turning points. Then I think slowly every day I keep learning new things.
Thank you for sharing.
Thank you so much, Mr. Anwar, for being with us today. I want to extend my deepest gratitude and admiration for the enlightening lecture. The way you seamlessly wove together the intricate tapestry of this rich and diverse culture was truly remarkable. Your approach to challenging preconceived notions and encouraging a fresh perspective was not only educational, but also incredibly inspiring, I believe, for all of us. I'm sure each one of us will agree. The depth of research and clarity with which you presented complex historical narratives helped in fostering a deeper understanding and appreciation of Tamil Muslim heritage. Thank you so much for your thought-provoking session. Your work is invaluable and in bridging cultural and historical gaps, and I look forward to learning more from whatever you are working on now and your future endeavors. We would love to be in the loop about it. So whatever you do, please do share it with us also.
Thank you. Thank you for giving the opportunity. I hope I provoked you people enough. I may not be right in all, but it's just a thing of making you think. So please do share, any feedback. If you are interested, one other book I would really suggest is also Saints, Goddesses, and Kings. I mean, if you are looking at South India, because that is the one which also made me relook at South India, understand Hinduism, all that. Otherwise, I was also under the belief that Hinduism is all about Trinity. Saints, Goddesses, and Kings by Susan Bailey. Book is a bit expensive, so if you can get one of your foundation libraries to get the book, that gives you an insight.
Okay, sure. We'll do that and we'll share it with the students as well. Thank you so much, sir. We'll see you next time.